am Alberto Orozco, CEO for Capitan Silver Corp, aggressively exploring the Cruz de Plata project in Durango, Mexico.
Aggressively, I like that.
Aggressively.
I like that. Right, we've had a good week here in Toronto. What's your kind of takeaway?
It's been a great PDAC. Obviously, everybody is upbeat. It's great when markets are going. Metal prices are going great, but obviously when your company has been performing and you've been actively working, had a great 2025, getting lots of great feedback, so it's been a great PDAC.
Right, okay, and look, we're going to cover a bunch of topics rather rapidly and aggressively today.
Sure.
I know we've spoken a couple of times in the last few months as well, but I want to kind of go into an area where, to help me understand sort of the humble beginnings and where we are today, because obviously it's been a meteoric rise, and I think some people might look at that and go, perhaps too meteoric. So set up in 2025, there's a lot of activity, which has put you in a good place for this year. Maybe kind of run us through what you had to get over the line and achieve last year, and we'll take it from there.
2025 was a really important year for Capitan Silver. You could say it was foundational for what 2026 is going to be, and we'll get there. But there were a few big catalysts that we had. First of all, the company was in a bit of a dormancy state, and that was our choice. The market wasn't there. We're not going to get enough recognition for our results and the great project that we had. So we needed to wait for the right time, find the right partners. And in that respect, the main catalyst in getting the company out of that state was bringing in Jupiter Gold and Silver Fund, who led a financing at a 30% premium, something that not a lot of junior mining companies do. And that gave us the capital to start setting the wheels in motion again, get a rig turning in the project, and start to get results out. So that was really important, number one. Number two, we were able to consolidate the property. We bought a land package from Fresnillo, who was surrounding all of our mineral tenure there at Cruz de Plata. And it was key because not only did we get more land, it was land that we understood contained the rest of the mineral system that we today understand and are actively exploring. So that was really big. I think that was probably one of the biggest catalysts last year. But obviously we also started putting out some drill results, and we continued hitting on not just the continuity on strike of the zones. We found new high-grade zones in some of the best holes that we've had in the property to date. We're not done yet with reporting all of last year's holes, so that's still ongoing. But we've already shown that there's continuity, that there are new high-grade zones, and it's only getting us really excited for 2026.
Okay, well, a few things you said there, and I'll start from the beginning. It was a kind of conscious decision to not try to kind of compete in what was a sort of a down market, and Silver hadn't quite made those steps forward like we've seen recently. So how do you get someone like Jupiter Asset Management interested and pay a premium when you're a junior in that kind of environment? What were they buying into?
Well, I think they saw the opportunity. I think they understood not only that we had some very strong geology. You have a project that is right in the middle of Mexico Silver Trend, that you have an intermediate sulfidation epithermal deposit, that some of our previous results were really strong as well. And I think geologically they saw the opportunity, but very importantly too, paired with a team that had not only success in exploration in the past, but in also putting things into production and operating them in record time, on budget. So we like to say that we have the team of $1 billion company in an exploration junior, because we've had that track record in the past. And those elements, I think, came together. Jupiter was excited about the opportunity.
So there's a little bit, because there's some bunch of historic data around this sort of prolific area, and a vision. I get it, but I think the thing that perhaps people missed, I missed it. I think a lot of people missed it, was this land consolidation, the importance of that to you for your thesis. Can you explain that?
Yeah, what was really important is maybe when people started looking at it, what they saw was perhaps a silver vein initially. As we did a little bit more work on that, that started turning into a silver trend. What changed from that point to what we got with the land consolidation is that that evolved to become a full mineral system.
Right.
So we understood the controls on the mineralization for the silver and also for the gold, because we do have a disseminated gold deposit right next to the silver. And all those elements led us to understand the different controls there, basically on the silver front, tripling our targets from 7 kilometers cumulative of high-grade silver structures to over 21. And there may be more, because as we've been drilling also last year, we've been finding some new structures and veins that we did not know were there.
Okay, so moving from a vein to a trend to a structure, that requires obviously a lot more drilling to kind of confirm that. But it's an interesting transition you need to make, because super high grade, you've definitely got the headlines that say that, but so narrow vein type results that we're sort of seeing through to a trend. Can you talk about what gives you the confidence to be able to talk about it's now bigger than we thought? Because ultimately you're going to need to say we've got scale to this thing.
Absolutely, and that's the main message here.
Yeah.
That's what I think Jupiter understood. Going back to that question.
Yeah.
That okay, you've not just been lucky hitting a few high-grade holes. This is consistent over a very considerable strike length, and that was where we were before. Now that you zoom out a little bit more into the whole system, you really understand the full scale of the deposit. And in simple words, it's big. There's a lot more of that scale that we need to prove. I think we've proven it today by drilling a lot of that Jesus Maria silver vein, showing how continuous it is, how we're finding new high-grade zones. Zoom out a little bit more, you see that those continue mapped and sampled on surface over the multiple kilometers that I mentioned, the 21 cumulative kilometers. Looking at some of the early stage geophysics that we have, results are showing consistent results with what we're seeing on surface also. So we're basically seeing that the same surface expression that we see in Jesus Maria where we have drilled, we're now seeing over a long strike length, basically around an intrusive body that we've identified there.
Right, but you've been kind of, what's the word? You've been cautious with the type of drilling that you're doing. It's relatively shallow at the moment. You're not going for these deeper, more expensive holes yet. When do we sort of see the transition into really trying to express the size and scale of the opportunity?
I love that question, and I like that adjective you use, cautious, because we have not been cautious. We've been very strategic about it. So we got this investment into the company that started moving the wheels. So the question was, how do we get the most value out of that? You only have a limited amount of money. How do I transform that into the largest number of holes in the quickest time frame possible, and find continuity and new high-grade zones? So we thought we had to do that because we have a surface or outcropping system that we could do shallow drill holes. That alone gives you more drill holes that you can drill. With reverse circulation, which was also cheaper and faster, to find these new zones, and we did that. So it was a very, very strategic approach to it. It's kind of like a fail fast and cheap to confirm what you have. What's next now? Let's start going deeper.
Okay, so in terms of the use of mixing up the diamond with the RC, etc., and you're trying to understand the kind of predictability of these expressions itself. So can you talk a little bit more about how you imagining the drill modeling looking going forward? I mentioned sort of deeper holes obviously a second ago, but are you getting a sense of and getting better at the vectoring and targeting as a result of the drilling that you've been doing recently?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. That type of program that we did also helps you in that respect, because you're getting more data points. So if we had taken that same amount of money and just put it into deeper diamond drilling, I would have gotten a very few shots,
Yeah.
and would have been like a low resolution product. So what we had is, well, shallow, high resolution, better understanding of the zone, of the continuity of the veins, where the new high grade zones are, and also, you know, if there's any zonation or not, which are things that we're starting to understand now. So yeah, we got a lot of data out of that program. We also understood, because we've spent the time looking at other companies and their drill programs, and, you know, really how much drilling does it take to find these new high grade zones, and that's very consistent in most projects, and it can be 20 to 30 holes before you hit that new high grade zone when you're stepping out.
Okay.
So we believe that this approach,
like, what are we talking about?
say that you have an already known zone of mineralization, you're going into the unknown zones that you have not drilled before.
Yeah.
That's the step out.
Yeah.
And as you step out, you may not always hit. It takes 20 to 30 holes.
But what's the step out? I guess was the question. How far are you stepping out?
Oh, how far the distance? 100 meters, 100 to 200
Okay.
meters, the initial step outs, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, you've got the money now to do what you want to do, right? So we've got how much drilling's been done today? Sorry, remind me.
We announced a 60,000 meter program.
Right, and you've done any of that yet?
Yeah, we started in January,
Right
away.
So when okay, 60,000 meters, that's a lot. How long is that going to take? How quickly does that information kind of feed back in? How are assay labs?
We want to drill that as fast as possible.
Yeah.
We're ramping up. We had the RC rig from last year. That was going last year on a 20 by 10 shift, like 20 on, 10 off. That's now 100% on. It's not stopping. We've added a core rig, and we have at least 2 more core rigs showing up at the project in the next days to weeks. Okay. So that's the first ramp up. We could potentially do more if we wanted. So the idea here is to do these 60,000 meters as soon as possible.
How quickly are you able to kind of like get that information and process it, reprocess it against your existing model and hypothesis, and then make decisions about the targeting? I mean, do you do it in sort of batch thinking, or is it literally each drill bit is affected by the new thinking?
Well, it's always an evolving process. It's a dynamic thing.
Yeah.
I think you want a very well-oiled machine to not be getting stuck on unnecessary holds up, and we have a team that we've been working with for many years. So that's good in that respect. We're lucky too, because the guys in the field can also tell when they've hit the mineralization or not. The assays might take a little longer to come in, but they know when we're in a good zone or not.
How?
So, because you see the mineralization. So in the case of what we have at Cruz de Plata, it may be some of the sulfides, some of the silicification, maybe some of the brechas. There's different styles of mineralization, but they know they're in it. They don't know how much it may run, but they know if they're in the mineralization or not. And so that we can make decisions very quickly. And we've worked to try to make our exploration as effective as possible, so that we shorten those times from the rig to the time that we get the result. And once it gets in, and those models are updated continuously. Okay,
and in terms of, again, demonstrating the scale, or demonstrating the potential of the scale of this, the drill bit's one part of the data set that you need. What else are you working on down there? Like I say, you've got the money to come at this any which way you want. So how do you do that?
Well, we're obviously continuing with our surface mapping and sampling program. We're going from a lower definition to a high def now, putting on more tighter scale mapping and tighter grids of sampling. That's obviously one thing that we want to always keep going, even we're drilling or not. We're flying some geophysics, which are going to give us the first full look on the consolidated property. Right. Not just on surface, but it's a deep penetrating survey. So on this new mineral system, we also have some ideas of what might be further at depth. And I think this new geophysical program is going to be really helpful in further understanding the controls of the mineralization.
So do you think this year, with all this drilling going on and all this kind of additional surface work that you're doing, is the year that you can sort of answer the question of how do I value Capitan? Because it's, like I say, it's been if I look at the share chart, I'm like, Okay, it's quickly established itself. I'm worried about, is it now backfilling valuation, or if through demonstrating the size potential of this thing, it's starting to put itself in a position of saying, as a pure play, silver pure play exploration company, does it stand out and deserve this valuation? So what's the sort of messaging to market, or I guess in simple terms, what should I, as an investor who wants to make money, be looking at, and what are you doing right?
I do think this is the year when we demonstrate the scale potential for this. And we might not even fully test the potential of what we have there. Silver deposits in the world are rare, high-grade silver deposits. Pure or high component silver deposits in the world are hard to find. Big ones, even much less, right? So I think that's what we're setting out to do this 2026. We're going well beyond what we've been drilling for a while, and rigs are turning. I think that's what we're setting out to do. Show scale, show that this is a big system, and now the rigs need to confirm that.
Right, and how does that kind of convert into, again, as a sort of selfish retail investor wanting to make money on this thing, how does that convert into a message for institutional investors? Where you talk about the kind of rarity of pure play, and specifically large scale pure play. We've seen some major takeouts in the last sort of 2 years or so, multi-billion type takeouts. Do you expect your register to evolve and change this year as a result of the work that you're doing, or is that just going to take a little bit more time?
Do we expect
the share register, like the profile, more institutional investing, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think institutions are definitely being more interested in the stock. I think what institutions and investors in general are looking for are quality plays. And here it's not just about the geology and the team. We've also been very careful in how we build this company. We've kept our share structure very tight, and I think the quality of our investors also very high, including some Mexican investors component that we put in there. But that together with, and we haven't talked enough about that we are in a location that has easy access, that has infrastructure nearby, low relief topography. Really what we're trying to do, what we're working to do here is to show how high quality this project is. Yes, there's grade. Yes, there's going to be scale and continuity to these zones. This year we're going to be testing some of the new targets. We're also going to be extending the already known zones at depth. But what a lot of people may not be seeing, and it's something that's really evident when you visit it, it's how easy it is to access, how less complicated it would be to build things in this project. We're mine builders in Capitan. We're a team of mine builders, not just explorers. What we see here is...
Let's back up on that one, because I think maybe we haven't talked about it for a while, and maybe some folks new to the story should try and understand. Give us the history of the team when you're saying we're mine builders.
Yeah, absolutely. So most of our team, particularly our Mexico team, we all worked together at Argonaut Gold during that phase of resource expansion, construction, and getting the operations going. So we have the team that did that put 3 mines into production on time and on budget, and and also in the same area where we're looking at in Cruz de Plata. So those mines are just an hour drive south of where we are. So this is an area that we know very well. In translating all those things, since we've built mines before and operated them, we know what project could have a good chance of becoming a mine. And this is what we see.
That's what you're trying to build here.
Exactly.
You know what you need to build that. Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, look, great that you've got the money to kind of get after this thing. Expect to hear lots more from you on that front. And so best of luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.